Hi there, and welcome to the BNI Alberta South Information Video Series. Today we are going to be talking about presentation sizing. Now, when talking about presentation sizing, we're not referring to necessarily the ratio, because we should all be using the widescreen version, such as what you're seeing in the recording right here, but we're talking about the actual file size. Now, this is a tutorial and an overview a video series, a portion of the video series put together because of inquiries and information that we have received from several of the communications coordinators through our region. Now, what they've experienced is members, submitting their presentations for their feature presentations on a weekly basis, and having sizes that are just really, really, really large. Unfortunately, what can happen if the presentation is way too large is that it will not work properly in Google Slides, to the point that when the presentation is added to the regular slide deck, it either will not appear, so you can't edit it, or it won't even be, viable in the actual presentation side of things. So it can't be viewed and worked on from the online Google Slides, which is ideally what we should be having to do within our chapters. Now, this is this is avoidable. So we're going to talk about that and show you how you can make that presentation much smaller. Now, first to go into, I'd like to show you just a little bit here. We have the issue that often happens, actually, we'll kind of clip back this, is that people will add, files and that to their presentation that increase the size of the presentation. Now, Google Slides has a max size of 100 megabytes for its storage for its slide presentations. That is huge and very unnecessary. We'd recommend that your slide presentation should be able to stay within or even lower than at 40 megabytes maximum. And taking a look here, you've got here even that your weekly presentation base sizing is only 16 megabytes. It can increase a little bit, once we add new slides and pictures of our members, but the base one that each chapter is presented with that is branded and set for each chapter is at 16 megabytes. Now let's look at this here. Here's what we see as being some of the most widely, the biggest issue with the presentations, or with people's presentations period, is the size of their images. Have a look here. We've got 3 images. All are different files. You'll see from left to right, we have the Spring Flowers web, middle, Spring Flowers small, and then on the right side, the Spring Flowers, and that's our regular size. If you can notice there, we have quite different sizes here. I'm going to actually go through those. On our small one here, the Spring Flowers web, now the reason it's called web is I have saved this to be a size that is viewable and usable online, but it's been compressed and saved in such a way that it will work well in an online presentation, such as what we're talking about, or even in a website. Here, this overall size is 404 kilobytes. It's fairly small. It is 1200 by 900 as far as the dimensions of the actual image, and the resolution is at 72 dpi. It's just an RGB file. Moving to the next one, the smaller one, it's slightly larger at 1.4 megabytes. You'll see it's also at the same size at 1200 by 900, also an RGB file, which it should be for online presentations, and its resolution is set at 96 dpi. Now, looking at the large one, it's 1.1 megabytes in size. Also 72 dpi, but take a look at the dimensions there. 4,320 pixels by 3,240 pixels. Okay, that is the equivalent of approximately, let's just say we're probably looking into the 25, 50 plus inches when an actual image. Now, this is what happens quite often, is if take a look at this, I just wanted to understand the difference, because people will put in large images thinking that it's going to be better quality and it's going to show them off better. Understandable. We totally understand that would be the general perception. But let's take a look at those 3 files here visually on the presentation. Here's your large file, the 7.1 megabytes. And there's the confirmation there. Look at that, 60 inches. 60 inches by 45 inches is pretty much the equivalent of what this size is. Now look at the next size. Okay, that's just a zoom in from that. Look at the next size. No real resolution loss. Looks pretty good. That one, remember, was at 1.4 megabytes. And look at that, 12.5 inches. There's your zoom in right there. Now let's look at the smallest one. Again, not much loss in the way of sizing or resolution or clarity, but dramatic size difference. Look at that there. So the moral of the story it comes down to is it is possible to save your images down much smaller than what you might be using to throw into your presentations. And that does dramatically increase the size, the overall size of your presentation in the end. So what we recommend is make sure that you size your images accordingly as far as what's going to work best for your presentation and the size of the presentation slides. Taking a look at this one, here is just the smallest. This is the smallest one. Let's look at the sizing of this here. Setting this at inches rather than pixels, you'll see that it can set at about 16.5 inches wide, which is about 1200 pixels wide, and whatever the height is in this case, because it's a landscape image, but it's 72 pixels per inch, or DPI. Looking at that right there, you've got something that's going to work very nice, and it's going to keep that size very small. You don't need larger than that. Anything larger is a bit of an overkill. So that's your basic overview just as far as some of your sizing. There are free programs online that you can find, or sites online. Just do a free online image sizing, and you'll be able to do some online changes. Or if you know someone with Photoshop or an image editing program, they can go in and they can make some of these changes for you as well. Or if you have that yourself, it may be a good investment tool because it's great for your presentations, whether it be in BNI or outside. Now, as a bit of a bonus, I just want to talk about, some of the imagery that you get here, and that is for font use. Fonts don't carry across as well from your computer necessarily to the presentation. The reason being is a font references an actual, or the font that you type into your presentation slides. It reads the font that is loaded elsewhere on your computer and then puts that into place. The issue or the problem that arises is if you use specialty fonts, ones that are set up for on your computer and to be used on your computer, they aren't necessarily going to work or be available when showing the presentation online. Our recommendation is to stick with some of the standard fonts. If you're using custom fonts because of branding or the logo side of your company, make sure that you supply that or put that into your presentation as an image. When using fonts, here's some of the standard fonts that are pretty regularly available on most systems. If not, there are substitute ones that will fall in their place that are very similar. And that is your video information series on presentation sizing. I hope that's been helpful for you. If you've got any questions, do please reach out to marketing@bnisalberta.ca because we'd love to help you with more. Watch here because we'll be doing other videos and tutorials for other questions and issues that members may have that we can provide some simple solutions to make your experience and your BNI journey a much more positive one and making it an insanely great one. Thank you so much. Take care and all the best.